Good afternoon or good morning. This is Tez, a real estate professional. I am here with my friend Beth, who is an insurance professional. And we are here today to talk to you about a very important topic that has surfaced around me lately. When I'm helping clients or people in my circle have been affected with this issue. And so I figured I'd bring in a professional to talk about that. So Beth, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Beth Hofkesang, and I'm a senior risk advisor with Arthur J. Gallagher Insurance. We're an independent broker, and we work with quite a few different carriers to help people protect their homes and their auto and everything that matters most to them.
Thank you. So Beth, most of us own homes, and when we own, we typically get insurance, right? Nobody has hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in the bank, and when we do that, we have to get home insurance, right? And so what is important? So when we think about getting home insurance, what are some of the factors that we need to think about to get the right type of coverage?
Well, like you said, Tez, when you have a mortgage involved, the lender is going to require that you have home insurance before they'll even close on a property. Home insurance, there's various coverages that are in every single homeowner's policy. You have a portion to cover reconstruction of the structure itself, so the dwelling, so that'll be coverage A.
So that's the actual home.
The actual home, right? So God forbid the home were to burn in a fire.
Right.
You want to know that you have enough money built into that policy to rebuild the home.
Right.
You also have money built into the policy for other structures. People don't know what that is, but if you think about your piece of property where your home is located, everything on the property that is not the home, your driveway, your walkway, your detached garage, maybe an above ground pool, a fence, a shed, those all fall into other structures.
Okay.
Personal property, everything you own, that shoe collection you might have, or your purses, your clothing, your furniture, your jewelry, everything you move into a home with you needs to be covered under your insurance policy.
So that's a really good point. How do you come up, so when someone is buying a home and they're calling an insurance company to get a quote, how do you try to come up with what that's worth?
Well, you know, it's funny. So when I first start working with somebody, I do a replacement cost estimator.
Come up with
Well, there are home inventories that you can use.
Okay.
We have them digitally, we have them printed where you can keep track. My recommendation is to keep things like that in the cloud. I go around every now and again, I'll go around my house and take pictures, just, 4 different pictures in every room, and I'll email them to myself so that I have them digitally, so God forbid my house burns to the ground tomorrow. I have a record. Now, will it be challenging to go through and identify and itemize each thing? That's part of the downside.
But at least you have
Absolutely.
something to start with.
Right.
Okay, so you think maybe like putting on a calendar every quarter or so just to go around and take pictures is a good idea?
Yeah, I don't know if they have to do it every quarter, but at least once a year they should do it because they acquire different things during the course of the year.
Okay.
Keep in mind also, your personal property insured on your homeowners has certain limits on certain items. Those items include jewelry, so if you have a $20,000 ring, that should be insured on a separate policy because you might only be insured up to $5,000, or some carriers only up to $1,000.
Okay.
And if you have it on a separate policy, you might be down at the beach walking hand in hand on the sand, and you look down and the diamond's gone. You have coverage when it's scheduled onto the policy.
Okay. Cool. So usually when we think about any type of insurance, whether it's car insurance or anything, because it's something that we pay monthly and we don't ever see it back unless, unfortunately, we actually need it, we tend to want to pay the minimum every month, just the bare minimum, right? But what are some things that is not up for, negotiation, or something we don't want to sacrifice on when it comes to insurance?
Well,
like with liability sounds like something we won't be liable for, right? It just sounds like optional.
It's unfortunate we live in one of the most litigious states in the country, here in New Jersey. You don't have to go far to see an ad from a personal injury attorney, right? And they're suing people because of liability reasons.
When we think about the home though, so how much of a difference are we talking if we get covered at, say $300,000 for liability for home insurance versus $500,000? Like, is it a lot more per month?
No, it's interesting you bring that up because just this morning I quoted somebody who currently has $100,000 on his home insurance. He has a swimming pool and he has a trampoline in his backyard. Typically, people that have pools and trampolines entertain a lot, so they have more people there, right? the more you
Therefore, more risk,
entertain,
right?
the more risk, right? I quoted him 300,000. I actually quoted him 500. He wanted to know what the value was with 300. It was a $9 difference per year, not per month.
$200,000 extra coverage.
Exactly, to go from 300,000 a year to 500,000. I mean, 300,000 to 500 on his policy.
Okay.
So it's not more,
Yeah.
you know, and it's important to have that conversation with your agent
Yeah.
and just, you know, ask them. Any good agent will run through the different variables for you and help you make a better informed decision.
Great, awesome. Thank you. So something that has come up recently for me, both from a client, so I just rented out a property and the landlord required that the tenant carries a renter's insurance. And there were limitations around, you know, pets, what type of pets, how many pets they could do. And I thought that was a good way to risk mitigate for investors and homeowners when they're renting out the property. But I also think it's a great thing to have for renters. Like, we don't, you know, the mentality with renters, including myself when I was renting, is that, you know, one of the benefits is that if something is broken or whatever, you're not the homeowner, right? Like you have, you know, the typically the landlord fixes that. Even that is changing, by the way. Some leases are requiring the first $100 the tenant pays, just to make sure that, you know, they have skin in the game as well, right? So this tenant I helped was required to get insurance, and I was pleasantly surprised by how low it was. I mean, this is a home. In a great area. I mean, the rent was like close to, you know, $3,500, $4,000, just to give you context. And in order to cover his belongings and liability, it was around like a little over $100 a year.
Yeah, it's one of the best values out there.
And,
for
you know, if
insurance.
something ever happens where people need to relocate to another place, you know, I think this is just not something that gets talked about enough. I think it's looked at as something extra, something optional, until, of course, something happens and we need the help. So if you can just tell us a little bit about the renter's insurance.
Sure, absolutely. I'm seeing it more and more with people that we insure for we do their landlord policies. It's one of the things I first talk about is including in the lease that the tenant get a renter's policy, because it does offer a buffer for that landlord policy.
Yeah.
Right? So with the renter's insurance, as you said, it's very inexpensive. $125 a year is an average premium that you would see.
A dinner, a dress, a shoes,
Right.
and you have peace of mind for
Right,
it.
absolutely. And what that does, that gives you money for your belongings based on replacement costs. So your furniture, your clothing. If you have no insurance and you suffer a loss like a fire, you have no money to go buy new things. You know, based on a renter's policy, you'd have some money built into that for replacement of your belongings. And then you have something called loss of use, which a lot of people don't realize. That's part of a renter's policy as well as a homeowner's policy. Loss of use is amazing. You suffer a loss, you're traumatized by what you're dealing with. You have to go move out of your home, or if your home's burned to the ground, you don't have a place to go home to. Now you have to find a place to rest your head at night, and you're thinking about everything you're dealing with. Loss of use is built into your policy to provide you money to go rent a place of like kind and quality, what you're accustomed to, so that you can get through everything you're dealing with. And you get that in a renter's policy. Money to go rent someplace else. You have liability that's included in a renter's policy.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's one of the best values out there for insurance, and a lot of people don't know the value there.
Yeah. Great, thank you. You know, people may be thinking about, okay, I don't have, you know, renter's insurance I may want to consider, or I have homeowner's insurance and I want to see if I can get it cheaper, right? What are some discount opportunities that people can look into? What are some things that would help them find discounts on insurance?
Okay, well, we've all heard of the bundle discount. So a lot of carriers will give you a discount if you bundle multiple lines of business. So that's not two homeowners together. That's home and a different line of business, whether it's your auto insurance, maybe it's an umbrella policy, personal liability umbrella, or even a valuable articles policy. You want to insure the jewelry, you want to insure a wine collection, whatever you have. There you go. You want to make sure you have those things protected. So they do discounts for multiple policies. Another thing we're seeing more and more of, especially when you own the home and it's a homeowner's policy, is water shutoff systems. More and more carriers are giving you a discount if you have a water shutoff system installed. That will shut the water off if the system detects detects an unusual amount of water passing through the system. So you're on vacation and the water hose breaks in the back of the washing machine and no one's home for 3 days. When that detects that it's running longer than it should, it shuts off your water main. So water is one of the biggest causes of damage for a carrier, more so than fire for many of the carriers. So that's a new thing that we're seeing. Even temperature systems, when, if the house temperature goes off and you're away in the wintertime, that will send off an alarm. Another thing is whole house generators. Since Sandy, more and more people have bought generators.
Yeah.
Carriers are now giving you discounts if you have a whole house generator. Another thing is central station fire and burglar alarms. That's another credit that's been around for a long time.
So if a home has these features, then it's an even better investment because the cost of carrying that home is cheaper, yes?
Absolutely.
Because the insurance will be lower.
Yeah. Now, the discount you get for, say, a central station fire and burglar alarm is not going to be enough to pay for the system. But if you're the type of person that wants that system anyway,
Right.
just make sure your carrier knows that you have that so you
it,
get that discount.
Right. Got it. Okay. Makes sense. Thank you. I hope that this has been helpful information for all the viewers. It's just something that has been top of mind for me. And Beth has always been helpful when I have questions or for my clients, so I figured I'd bring in the professional to help answer your questions. So we mentioned a few resources through this video. So one of the hardest things to put our heads around is how much stuff we have, valuable stuff we have, right? And to do that, you have a home inventory checklist.
Yes,
There's
we
a
do.
digital version. So I'll put Beth's information down here so you can get in touch with her. And then we talked about discounts as well, right? Something to consider. So yeah, so hopefully this has been helpful to you. If there are other questions that you have, other professionals that you'd like me to bring in and talk about, happy to do so. Thank you, Beth.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tez.
Bye.
Anyone need any help, feel free to reach out. Thank you.